My name is Amina, I'm 36, a mother who thought she knew every plan my family had. Or at least I thought I did. Today I feel a strange mix of disbelief, hurt, and pride all tangled together. My hands are trembling slightly as I think about the words that just echoed in my mind. We got married yesterday. I never saw it coming. All my life I tried to guide, protect, and prepare my son for the world, and suddenly, it feels like the ground beneath me has shifted. I keep replaying every conversation, every little sign I might have missed, every silent warning. The house feels emptier somehow, even though it's full of people, and I can't decide if I'm proud, scared, or heartbroken. They threw me out the night before my graduation, so I bought a one-way ticket and never looked back. Before I dive into this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below, hit that like button, and if you're new here, subscribe to hear more stories about standing up for yourself when it matters most. Now let me take you back to how this all began. I never thought a simple question could turn my world upside down. I had just finished preparing lunch, the aroma of spices and bread filling the kitchen, when I casually asked my daughter-in-law, "So, when is the wedding?" I expected a polite smile and a date, maybe even a hint of excitement. But what I got instead froze me in place. Her voice was calm, almost cheerful, as if she were telling me the weather forecast. "We got married yesterday." I blinked, not understanding. My heart skipped a beat, my mind raced, and for a moment the kitchen around me blurred into a haze. Yesterday? How could I not know? How could my son, my little boy who once clung to my hand while crossing the street, have quietly tied the knot without a single warning? I sank into the nearest chair, my hands gripping the edge so tightly I thought I might leave indentations in the wood. Memories came crashing back like waves breaking over jagged rocks. The first day I held him in my arms, his tiny fingers curled around mine, trusting me completely. His first steps, his first words, the countless nights I stayed awake while he cried from fevers and nightmares. And now, all those years later, he was a husband. My stomach churned with a cocktail of emotions. Pride, disbelief, confusion, and a strange pinch of betrayal. Did I fail as a mother? Had I been so focused on protecting him that I forgot to let him live? Her smile remained steady, gentle, and innocent. She didn't look guilty, she didn't flinch, she just said it as if it were ordinary news. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to unravel every secret corner of their lives, but the words caught in my throat. My son stood nearby, avoiding my eyes, his hands fidgeting with the hem of his shirt, a nervous smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Mom, I wanted it to be simple," he said quietly, almost apologetically. Simple? To me it wasn't simple. It was monumental. It was life-altering. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come yet. Instead, I felt a hollow ache, as if a chapter of my life had closed without my permission. I remembered the day he turned 18, standing in the doorway of his room, arguing about college, independence, responsibilities. Back then, I thought those were the milestones that would prepare him for adulthood. And they did, in a sense, but nothing prepared me for this. The realization struck me. I had been trying to hold on to a boy who had already grown into a man, and the more I clung, the faster the current of life carried him away. My chest tightened and I felt a strange sense of helplessness. He was happy. That's what mattered. And yet, it hurt so much to accept it. Later, in the quiet of my room, I found myself flipping through old photo albums, tracing the edges of his childhood with trembling fingers. Every picture reminded me of time lost and time gained, of moments I'd cherished and moments I'd missed. I wondered if he remembered the bedtime stories, the scraped knees I'd kissed, the countless school projects I had helped him finish. Did he know that I loved him so fiercely that sometimes it hurt my chest to breathe? And still, he had stepped into a new life without hesitation, without asking for my permission, and the realization made me both ache and swell with pride. The evening drew on, and my emotions tangled into a knot I couldn't undo. I tried to speak, to ask questions, to make sense of the whirlwind, but each sentence faltered. My son and his wife spoke softly to each other, a language of intimacy and shared secrets I was no longer a part of. And in that quiet moment I understood something crucial. Love does not mean holding on tightly. It means letting go when it's necessary, trusting the choices of the ones you have nurtured, even when it's terrifying. The first waves of acceptance began to ripple through me, softening the raw edges of shock and confusion, leaving room for something else. Gratitude for the love that had brought us here and the strength to adapt to the changes life demanded. I sat in silence for a long while, letting the hum of the evening settle around me. The house was alive with chatter, laughter, and the soft clinking of dishes, but I felt like a ghost moving through my own life. My mind kept looping back to the word yesterday, the way she said it so casually. It was like a punch to the chest that I hadn't seen coming. Every plan, every expectation, every tiny detail I thought I controlled slipped through my fingers in that one word. I remembered the sleepless nights when he was a baby, the hours I spent worrying about his first day at school, the painstaking care with which I watched him grow. And now, in a single day, he had stepped into a life I wasn't part of. I walked to the balcony, letting the cool evening air brush against my face, trying to breathe past the lump in my throat. The city lights flickered below, mirroring the turmoil in my mind. I realized then that my grief wasn't for my son. It was for the child he used to be, the years that had gone by too quickly, and the illusion that I could keep him close forever. And yet a part of me smiled through the ache. He was happy. He had found someone who loved him, someone he trusted enough to share his life with. And even though I hadn't been included in the planning, his choice was a reflection of the man he had become, the independence I had always dreamed of him having. Flashbacks came unbidden, washing over me like a relentless tide. I saw his first birthday party, the frosting smeared across his cheeks, his little hands clapping with delight. I saw the first time he rode a bicycle without training wheels, his legs wobbly, his eyes sparkling with triumph. I remembered the late nights we spent talking about his dreams and fears, the whispered confessions in the quiet darkness of his bedroom. Each memory was a stitch in the tapestry of our lives, and I suddenly understood that love is not about holding on but about letting go gracefully, even when it hurts. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I found myself sitting alone in the living room, staring at the wedding invitation I had just been handed. The elegant handwriting mocked me softly, a reminder that life moves at its own pace, not mine. I thought about my own marriage, the sacrifices, the struggles, the moments of laughter and tears. I realized that love in any form requires trust and surrender. My son had trusted me to love him even when I didn't understand his choices. Now it was my turn to trust him, to release my grip, and to celebrate the life he was creating. The following morning I watched him and his wife move through the house, laughing, planning, holding hands like teenagers discovering the world together. My heart ached again, but this time it was mingled with pride. I approached them, forcing a smile onto my face, and handed them both cups of tea. "Congratulations," I whispered, my voice steady despite the storm inside. They looked at me surprised, and for a moment the silence was thick. Then my son smiled, that shy, familiar smile I had known all my life, and said, "Thanks, Mom. We wanted you to know, but we also wanted it to be special for us." In that moment I understood something profound. Life does not always wait for us to be ready. People make choices, follow their hearts, and sometimes leave us behind, not out of malice but out of the necessity to grow. And as painful as it is, the beauty of love is that it evolves, stretches, and sometimes demands that we release it gently, trusting that it will return in a new form, richer and stronger than before. I spent the rest of the day watching them interact, letting memories and emotions intertwine. I reflected on my own journey, the countless moments when I had resisted change, tried to control outcomes, and clung to the past. And I realized that letting go doesn't mean losing love. It means honoring it, giving it space to flourish. My son was no longer the little boy who needed me to protect him. He was a man capable of making decisions, embracing responsibility, and creating joy for himself and those around him. By evening, the ache in my chest softened into a warm pulse, a reminder that love and pride could coexist with shock and vulnerability. I sat quietly, hands resting on the pages of our family photo album, letting tears slide freely down my cheeks. I was grateful for the journey that had brought us here. The mistakes, the laughter, the sleepless nights, and even the silent arguments. All of it had shaped him, shaped me, and shaped the bond we shared. And though I had been surprised, hurt, and confused, I was ready. Ready to embrace this new chapter, to trust the choices of the ones I loved, and to celebrate the beauty of life unfolding in ways I could never have predicted. As I closed the album, I felt a quiet peace settle over me. I had learned that love is not measured by control but by trust. Life is not about staying in the familiar, but about stepping into the unknown with courage. And sometimes the most powerful transformations happen not in our children, but within ourselves as we learn to release, accept, and love without reservation. I smiled softly, knowing that yesterday had changed everything, and that, in the most unexpected way, it had changed me too. The days that followed the revelation were quiet, yet every corner of the house seemed to echo the truth of yesterday. I found myself lingering in rooms where laughter once filled the air, imagining all the small, intimate moments my son and his wife shared without me. I felt a strange combination of longing and admiration. Longing because I wasn't there for the planning, the secret smiles, the whispered promises, and admiration because they had built a world of love together so seamlessly, almost effortlessly. I realized then that life wasn't cruel. It was simply moving, and I had to move with it. I had spent so long fearing that change would leave me behind, but now I understood that change was not a threat. It was an invitation. I started to notice the little things about her, my daughter-in-law, that I had previously overlooked. Her calm confidence, the warmth of her smile, the gentle way she held my son's hand as they navigated our home, it all began to chip away at my apprehension. I remembered my own youth and the moments I had fallen in love, the choices I had made without asking for anyone's approval, and I realized they were doing the same thing. Life demanded courage, and I had to respect that. Sitting alone one afternoon, I replayed our first meeting in my head. The polite greetings, the shy smiles, the nervous glances, and I felt gratitude that he had chosen someone kind, thoughtful, and strong enough to be his partner in life. Memories of my own marriage surfaced, and with them a revelation. Every relationship requires trust and surrender. I had been so focused on the idea of control, on knowing every detail, that I had forgotten the essence of love. Love is not ownership. Love is not constant oversight. Love is believing in the other person's heart, even when you don't have the full picture. I thought of all the nights I had prayed for my son's safety, all the times I had worried about the smallest mistakes, and how futile it would have been to try to control his life. What mattered now was the person he had become and the happiness he had found. That was worth more than any plan or timeline I could have imagined. I began to let the walls of fear and resistance crumble slowly. I started small, smiling when I saw them laughing together, joining conversations without probing too deeply, and acknowledging their milestones with warmth instead of tension. Each smile, each nod of approval, each quiet acceptance reinforced something I had long forgotten, that letting go could be liberating even for me. I allowed myself to feel proud without guilt, happy without suspicion, and grateful without reservation. The room that had once felt heavy with secrecy now seemed lighter, brighter, filled with a new kind of hope. One evening, I found myself sitting at the kitchen table with my son, watching him stir tea carefully, as if trying to be cautious with every gesture. I wanted to reach across and tell him everything I felt, the pride, the lingering ache, the love, but I realized that words were unnecessary. Sometimes presence alone speaks volumes. I reached for his hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. He looked up, eyes wide, and smiled. That small act bridged the gap that had formed in a single day. We didn't need long explanations. Our bond had evolved into something stronger, quieter, and unshakable. As the weeks passed, I began to understand the deeper lesson hidden in their decision. Life rarely aligns with our expectations, and the people we care about may surprise us at any moment. But those surprises are not betrayals. They are proofs of trust, growth, and the beauty of human courage. The wedding, the secrecy, the sudden announcement, it had all been a catalyst forcing me to confront my own fears, my need to control, and my assumptions about what love should look like. Through this process, I discovered patience, acceptance, and the ability to celebrate life's unpredictability rather than resist it. I reflected on my own growth too. The shock I had felt was genuine, but so was the gratitude. I had survived every test, every challenge, every sleepless night raising him, and now I was witnessing the fruit of that labor in a new light. My son was thriving, and his happiness was not diminished by my initial surprise. It was enriched by my eventual embrace. I understood then that transformation is rarely linear. It comes in waves, sometimes painful, sometimes joyful, always instructive. And in those waves, we learn the most about love, resilience, and ourselves. In the quiet moments, I often returned to the thought that had first shaken me, yesterday. That single word had jolted me, disrupted my assumptions, and forced me to see life as it truly is. Not a predictable path, but a river flowing with currents we cannot always control. And yet, in letting go, in surrendering to the unexpected, I had found a new sense of peace. I realized that yesterday had changed everything, not by taking something from me, but by teaching me to expand my heart, to trust the people I loved, and to embrace life's surprises with open arms. By the time the evening sun filtered through the windows, painting the room with golden light, I felt a profound shift within me. The ache of shock had softened into a warm pulse of understanding. I could finally look at my son and his wife without lingering fear or resentment. Instead, I felt admiration, love, and an exhilarating sense of hope. Life would continue to surprise me, and I would continue to adapt because that is what love requires. Courage, faith, and the willingness to release control while holding on to connection. As I closed my eyes that night, I smiled softly, thinking of the day that had begun with disbelief and ended in acceptance. I had learned that love is a living thing, sometimes sudden, sometimes unpredictable, but always transformative. It does not demand perfection nor adherence to plans. It asks only that we trust, that we release, and that we allow the people we love to grow into the fullness of their lives, even when it is difficult for us. And in that realization, I discovered the quiet, unshakable strength that comes from letting go and embracing the beautiful, messy, unpredictable flow of life. Looking back, I realized that life rarely unfolds the way we expect. The shock of discovering my son had married in secret was intense, almost unbearable, but it forced me to confront something deeper within myself. I learned that love isn't about control, oversight, or anticipating every step. It's about trust, patience, and the courage to let go. The people we raise will grow, make choices, and create lives that may surprise us. And that's not betrayal, it's life. In letting go, I discovered a profound kind of freedom. The freedom to celebrate their happiness without holding on to fear, the freedom to feel pride without guilt, and the freedom to embrace the unpredictable flow of life. Yesterday had changed everything, not by taking something from me, but by teaching me to expand my heart, to trust, and to love without conditions. And in that lesson, I found a quiet strength that will stay with me forever. Love is not just in the protection, the guidance, or the plans we make. It is in the willingness to release, accept, and witness those we care about bloom into the fullness of their lives. Life moves fast, but if we let it, it also teaches us how to move with it gracefully, courageously, and with an open heart.